Yo, what's good, everybody? What's good? What's good? What's good? We got another show here for y'all. It's DFJ Hoops. I'm your host, Taco Dre, and we're gonna talk about this topic right here. Is Luka Doncic the best player in the world? We're gonna talk about it, but hit the like button if you come in. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's just get right into this. So, I was on another show and we were talking about the best players in the league, right? Talking about the best players in the world. And something that I realized was that people were already crowning Luka Doncic as the best player in the league. Now, I absolutely disagree with that because I believe that somebody who lost in the second round is still the best player in the league, even though I know some people are going to disagree with me. I still think he's the best player in the game. And I'm not going to say that just because he lost in the second round, he's not the best player in the league. I'm not going to say that. I still think he has a case of being the best player. I think Luka is close. Luka definitely has an argument, but Luka is not, he's still in the playoffs, right? So he has another task ahead of him. So I don't really want us to, bring up these best player in the world things to kind of like mess with his head. I mean, even though he's definitely focused on his main goal, which is winning the championship. But if you have an argument for Luka being the best player in the world, yeah, I'm definitely gonna listen to it, right? I'm gonna definitely listen to it. But even though I still believe that Jokic is the best player in the game, but if you're making a case for Luka, I'm definitely gonna listen to it. But before I go more into detail about this, there's these three players that I want to talk about a little bit because I know that people are gonna try to make a case for them as being the best players in the league. And with the first play, I'm gonna start with Stephen Curry. Now, Steph Curry did have a good season for the Golden State Warriors. Individually, he was having pretty good season for himself. Now, unfortunately, the Golden State Warriors they missed the playoffs. But me personally, I don't really use team success when I'm ranking players. When I rank players, I base it off of availability, production, and your impact on the team. API. That's what I mainly look at. Even though if you're putting up numbers, if you're available for your team, if you have any sort of impact on your team, it should propel them to be successful in the regular season. I definitely believe that, but at the same time, we also have to take into account the caliber of players you have on the team. You can have if Jokic was on a terrible team, yeah, they probably don't make the playoffs. And we definitely saw an example of it back in 2022 where he was on this terrible team, even though he did get them to the playoffs, right? The team made it to the playoffs, but they were the sixth seed, right? Because he didn't really have a good enough team around him because his two best players were out. But when they got healthy, when they got back on the crew, when the Denver Nuggets made some signings, made some trades in the offseason and got the roster a little bit better, they were the first seed. They end up going all the way to the NBA Finals and they win the championship. But let me just talk about Steph Curry here. So some people might try to make an argument for Steph Curry as being the best player in the league. Now, me personally, I absolutely disagree with it because people are just going to look at his ability to shoot the basketball and his talents, right? But I just don't see it that way. Even though he had a good season for the Golden State Warriors, he made the All Star team, he made the All NBA team, but they missed the playoffs. They lost in that playing game against the Sacramento Kings, and they basically they shut the door on them. They were doubling him, blitzing him, at half court, making life difficult for him, not allowing him to be comfortable on the floor. You have to give a lot of credit to Keon Ellis and that 6'8" sophomore player. I forgot his name. Keon is it? I don't remember his name right now, but Keegan Murray, that's the name. So yeah, you got to give him credit for the job they did on Steph Curry defensively. But Steph Curry definitely had a good season. Now, if you have him in your top 10, okay, I'm definitely gonna listen to it. But I don't think he's in the top 5 conversations, and I definitely don't think he's the best player in the league. So if you're making an argument for Stephen Curry, I'm not gonna listen to it, even though I believe he's a top 10 player. So that's that. So the second player on this list, um, Kevin Durant, easy money sniper. Now, Kevin Durant, he did make the playoffs, right? He was having he had a significant season. He made the All Star team, All NBA team. I think he was second team All NBA, right? The Phoenix Suns were the sixth seed in the Western Conference, but I don't believe in getting swept in the playoffs. If you get swept in the playoffs, then you are not close at all to the team that beat you, right? And Kevin Durant getting swept in the playoffs. Now, even though he did put up numbers in the playoffs, don't get me wrong. I think he was averaging about 27 points in that playoff series against the Phoenix Suns. But getting swept is not it's not a good look. Now, I'm not saying because he got swept, he's not the best player in the league, or he doesn't have an argument. But I don't think he has an argument because there's other players who's helping their teams, at a very high level, who's always for their teams, who's available for their teams, who's producing at a very high level for their teams, and also have a significant impact for their teams. And yeah, shout out to my guy Humble Man in the building. What's good, bro? I appreciate you for being in here. Yeah, yeah. I'm talking about the best players in the league and whether Luka has an argument of being the best player or not. But yeah, I don't think KD has an argument. Now he's definitely a top. He definitely is a top 10 player, top 15 player. I believe that. I mean, he made the All NBA team. Um, but in the playoffs, he definitely was balling. I mean, he averaged 26 points. Um, 6 rebounds, and I think 3 or 4 assists. But his impact for the team wasn't really there enough. So that's why I don't think Kevin Durant has an argument to being the best player in the league. Now, if you want to make an argument for him, you got to come with some very propelling arguments because with his team getting eliminated the way they did, it's not really a good look for him. Now, the final player on this list is LeBron James. Now, believe it or not, some people still believe that LeBron is the best player in the league. Now, rightfully so. I mean, they're looking at his longevity, looking at the accolades, and him playing at a high level. I mean, he averaged 25 points. I mean, this the 20th season in a row where he averaged 25 plus. So, major props to LeBron. He made the All Star team, which I mean, he's always going to make the All Star team if he puts up 25. Yeah, he made the All Star team, All NBA team, um, and he got to the playoffs. Even though he was a seventh seed, he was a lower seed. They did get to the playoffs, and he did put up some good. He put up some good numbers. Right around his career averages, right? But they lost in five. Now, like I said, I don't think losing in the playoffs I don't judge players based off if they win or lose in the playoffs or if they make a deep postseason run or not. I don't. That's not how I rank players because I think if you're ranking players, it should be an individual thing. Even though sometimes your impact to the team matters, but for the most part, I focus more on the individual stuff. Humble says you're right about Luca. Nobody should be able to argue with what you're saying. Yeah, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna definitely get to it, bro. But yeah, I don't think LeBron is the best player in the league because, like, same logic that I have on Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. I believe there's other players who are doing more for their team, who are producing at a high level, are always there for their team, and also have a significant impact on the team. Now, I'm not saying LeBron doesn't have any impact, but the next three players that I'm going to talk about, they impact their teams on a more significant level than LeBron, KD, or Stephen Curry does. And I'm about to talk about those players in a minute. Now, when you talk about the best players, I think it's only three guys who have an argument. Now, even though I have Nikola Jokic as the best player, if you tell me that Giannis is the best player or Luka is the best player, I'm definitely willing to listen to your arguments, right? But me personally, I don't really think that Giannis is the best player in the league anymore. If you ask me personally, I think Giannis is the third best player in the league. Me personally. Um, Humble Man says Ant Man and Luca and Joker are the best players in my opinion. Maybe you can add Giannis if you're a fan of his style. I mean, I think Giannis is definitely. if I'm ranking, I'll definitely put Giannis above Anthony Edwards. But I'm gonna get to it, right? But I think me personally, I don't think Giannis has an argument of being the best player in the league, even though I think he's a top 5 player in the league. I don't think he's a top. I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's the undisputed best player in the game. I just don't. I just don't look at it that way because even though he averaged 30 points in the regular season, right? I mean, shooting 60% from the field, which is that is insane. But I mean, most of his shots are closer to the basket, so it's not really that surprising. But I mean, that was the first time somebody did that since Wilt Chamberlain. So shout out to Giannis. Had an incredible regular season. Unfortunately, he went down with I think 2 weeks to the end of the season. He went down with the calf injury, which calf injuries are always you have to take those seriously because if you risk it, you might end up popping your Achilles tendon. So it was just unfortunate. Hopefully he comes back fully healthy next year. And we definitely Giannis is still in his prime. He's still gonna put up numbers. But I just don't think he's the best player in the league because we haven't seen him in the playoffs. The last time we saw him in the playoffs, what was he doing? Um, he lost to the Miami Heat in the first round, and he was favored in that series. Now, I don't want to hear about him, being hurt, even though yes, he did have a back contusion, right? But sometimes you just got to be smart because when you go up against certain teams, you should know certain players' defensive styles. So, for example, if you're going up against a team that has Kevin Love, you should always know that Kevin Love always like to take charges. So if you're driving past him, you have to be careful whether you have to you know maneuver in a certain type of way to avoid making contact with him because you may not be expecting it. Then he'll just come in for a charge, and that's how he got hurt. He thought he could jump. He thought he could jump over every person and lay the ball up, but jumping over Kevin Love, and then he fell to the floor back first and ended up having a back contusion. But he still returned. He still put up numbers right in Game 4 and Game 5 against the Miami Heat, but they lost. And one of the most significant things that I realized in that game was Giannis was missing a lot of free throws, right? Missing a lot of free throws. The game went into overtime, and Giannis was running away from the free throw line. He was running away from the ball because he did not want to go to the free throw line. Now, I don't think the best players in the world, if you're the best player in the world, I don't think you would be doing something like that. Running from the ball when you're supposed to be the best player. You're supposed to lead your team to victory. Now, we did see him in 2021, make 14 out of 17 free throws, lead his team to the NBA championship, finals MVP. He dropped 50 points in the closeout game, right? So we saw Giannis do that, but since then he hasn't really updated his resume. The next season he lost in 7 games to the Boston Celtics. Now, yeah, Chris Middleton was hurt. He didn't play that series, but Milwaukee was up 3-2 in that series. And in Game 6 on his home floor, he had a chance to, close the game, close the series, and he wasn't able to guard nobody. I mean, Jason Tatum was going off, and you would expect Giannis to, try to get on Jason Tatum and guard him, but he didn't do it, right? And as a result, they end up losing Game 6. They lost the series, right? That was in 2022. And then in 2023, they lost in embarrassing fashion to the Miami Heat, right? Even though he did have some numbers, those numbers didn't really impact anything because they still lost. And then this season, we didn't see him in the playoffs because he got hurt. Now, injuries are unfortunate, right? Even though you can't control it, you don't know when you might get hurt or when you might be healthy. But I just think that these chain of events have led to Giannis not being, the best player in the game. And other players, in my opinion, other players have surpassed them. Other players have done more for their teams. Other players have been more consistent, more impactful, and they have been available for their teams not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. So if you're making an argument for Giannis, I'm gonna listen to it, but eventually I'm gonna disagree with you because I don't think he's done more than any of these two guys, in my opinion. So me personally, if I'm ranking my players, I would have Giannis as the third best player in the league. That's how I feel about it. Now, I think Jokic and Luka, I think they're in terms of who's the best player in the league, I think they're it's not far, but I think it's closer than people want to admit. I think Luka is much closer to Jokic than people want to admit. Now, I still have Jokic as the best player in the league because what he did last season, right? I mean, not just last season. I mean, the season before. I mean, winning back-to-back MVPs, and then coming into next season, um, he still had last season. He had a dominant regular season, right? Almost averaged a triple double for the entire season. But Joel Embiid won the MVP, but nonetheless, Jokic still went into the playoffs. He put up, dominant numbers, on ridiculous efficiency, and led the Denver Nuggets to the championship. And he was named Finals MVP. That was one of the most dominant playoff runs uh, in this decade, right? I think Jokic. Yeah, I don't think I know. Jokic is the first player ever to lead the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. I'm going to say it again. Jokic was the first player in NBA history to lead the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, LeBron did that. No, he didn't. He led his team in points, rebounds, and assists, but Jokic led the entire playoffs in total points, total rebounds, total assists, led his team to the championship, named Finals MVP. And I think that right there crowned him as the best player in the league, right? But heading into this season, yeah, in the regular season, he put up some solid numbers, right? 26 points, 12 rebounds, I think 8 or 9 assists, something like that. Those are significant numbers. Those are incredible numbers, right? And he was named the MVP. He was named the regular season MVP, even though I still believe that Joel Embiid would have been the MVP had he not gotten hurt. But um injuries is a part of the game, like I said. And if I'm using injuries to knock Giannis, I have to do the same thing with Embiid. But Jokic had a dominant regular season run, right? 26 points, 12 rebounds, um, and 9 assists. I mean, a center giving you that many assists, that's just that is just incredible. But he came into the playoffs, right? And against the seventh seeded Los Angeles Lakers. Now the Denver Nuggets were the Denver Nuggets were the second seed. And in the first round, Jokic was the best player I think Jokic. No, I don't think Jokic was the best player in that series. Right. For the series, he averaged 28 points, 16 rebounds, and 9.8 assists. If I round up, that's 10 assists. So you could say that he subsequently averaged a triple double in the first round. He averaged that, and I mean, he did that against Anthony Davis, who's one of the premier defensive players in the game, right? Anthony Davis has led the league in blocks multiple times, right? He's made the all first defensive team. He's made the all defensive team multiple times in his career, right? So Jokic was not just doing this against any, defensive type player. Now, the Lakers as a team, they were top 10 in defense, but they had a better interior defense than they did defense on the perimeter. They had a better interior defense than perimeter defense. And Jokic being, he's a center, even though he does operate from the perimeter sometimes, right? His primary defender was Anthony Davis, and he was getting buckets over him, you know, averaging 28 points, 16 rebounds, and 9 assists. That's just dominant numbers. And his efficiency was just on another level. I mean, 67 true shooting percentage. That's incredible. So he did that in the first round. Now in the second round against the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? The best defense in the NBA right now. They did lose that series. I'm not gonna we're not gonna act like that didn't happen, right? But again, like I said, just because you lost in the playoffs doesn't mean you can't be the best player in the league. I mean, me personally, after LeBron had that, stinker back in 2011, I still had him as the best player in the league, right? Just one playoff series cannot, change your whole opinion on a player, right? And LeBron definitely came back and he improved, excuse me, and led his team to the championship. So, Jokic, he definitely balled out against the Minnesota Timberwolves, against the number one ranked defense in the league. He gave you 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 7.9 assists. If you round that up, that's 8 assists on a 60% true shooting percentage. So he was balling, he was doing his thing, but they just lost to the better team, in my opinion. And we did see Nikola Jokic put up some great numbers, especially in games 3, games 4, and games 5. We saw him he put on a virtuoso, like an offensive masterclass that we probably will not see that for a long time. And Jokic was putting up numbers like that, and giving you assist numbers like that, playmaking at a high level, creating mismatches for his teammates, creating chances, creating goal scoring opportunities for not just himself, but for um, Michael Porter Jr., for Aaron Gordon, for Jamal Murray, and a few others. And we saw Aaron Gordon have some of his best playoff games in a long time. In terms of scoring wise, he was scoring a ton because Jokic was creating a lot of scoring opportunities for him, and he was finding them a lot of mismatches in that series. And as a result, Aaron Gordon was going off in that playoff run. But yeah, that I think that's still the reason why I'm still putting Jokic as the best player. And I don't think one series can just dethrone you as being the best player. I don't think one series can not make you the best player in the league. And the same logic that I use for LeBron is the same logic I'm gonna use for Jokic. And even with Giannis, after Giannis lost in 2022, I still had him as the best player in the league, right? But after 2023, when he lost in the way in that fashion, and with Jokic doing what he was doing, I mean, that was not the first time. Jokic was on his way to doing that, and with him, leading his team to the championship, that made me put him as the best player. And yeah, but last but not least, Luka Doncic, Luka Magic. I mean, this guy has made the first team All NBA how many times? 5 times in a row, right? He led the league in scoring, 34 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, even though Embiid would have won the scoring title if he was not hurt. But man, I keep bringing up Embiid, man. But shout out to Embiid. Hopefully he gets healthy. Um, he did say his knees is it's a little bit fine, but yeah, shout out to Embiid. But Luca definitely has an argument being the best player in the league, even though I'm still giving it to Jokic. But I definitely believe that Luca has an argument. He definitely has an argument. Now, Luca didn't really have a dominant playoff run. I mean, the first two series, against the Clippers, he did get his numbers, but the efficiency wasn't there. And against the OKC Thunder, he got his number. I mean, he didn't really get his usual numbers because he's usually putting up 29 points, 30 points, 29 or 30 plus, right? But against the Thunder, he wasn't putting up those numbers. Now it was by design because they were double teaming them, trapping them, and they were forcing other guys to beat them. And as a result, PJ Washington stepped up huge for them, right? And yeah, they ended up winning that. They ended up winning that series. But Luca dominated in that Western Conference Finals. He destroyed that number one defense in the NBA. I mean, JD McDaniels couldn't do anything with them. Anthony Edwards couldn't do anything with them, and we saw him hit the game winner over the defensive player of the year, which I mean it was a little bit unfair. I don't know why they switched on that last possession because that's not a favorable position for Rudy Gobert to be in, right? A center cannot guard the perimeter. We never asked any of those traditional centers back in the day to guard the perimeter. And I believe traditional centers like Mark Eaton, Dikembe Mutombo, all those guys would get baked. I mean, Dikembe was getting fried by Kobe in the finals in '01. So uh, if you think Rudy Gobert is a terrible defender, I mean, go watch some of the defenders back in the day, and they'd definitely be terrible on the perimeter. Um, Humble Man says, "Would you rather take Shy or Giannis?" I mean, me personally, I'm taking Giannis. But I mean, Shy SGA, he's definitely on his way. He's definitely on his way for sure. Uh, Bruce says, "Come on, Bruce. Come on, Bruce. Don't do that. I mean, he's a rim protector. He's a solid rim protector, but perimeter defense, yeah, he's trash. I'm not gonna defend him on that. But Bruce, be honest with me. Was Dikembe not getting fried on the perimeter back in '01? He was. Kobe was frying him. So, yeah, what's going on, Bruce? Yeah, I appreciate you for being over here. I definitely appreciate you for the support. Nah, Gobert's overrated. I mean, it. Me personally, I don't. I have him as one of the best defenders. One of the, I mean, not one of the best defenders, but one of the best rim protectors. I think he's definitely valuable when it comes to rim protection, right? But in terms of him, stepping out onto the perimeter, it's only a few centers that can really step onto the perimeter and lock up. Like I think Alonzo Mourning could do that, right? Hakeem could definitely do that because he was light on his feet. He was fast, he was athletic, right? I think David Robinson could have done that, right? But defenders like Mark Eaton, I don't think he could, leave from under the basket and lock up on the perimeter. I don't think he could do that, right? And a few defensive centers, I don't think they'd be able to do it. So I mean, asking Gobert to guard on the perimeter, I think it's a little bit unfair to him. Um, Bruce says Dikembe was getting fried, but by all-time players, Gobert getting fried by not players like T Man. I mean, that T Man, like Bruce, come on, Bruce. They put T Man in that weak side corner, and he was shooting threes. Out of 12 threes, he made seven of them, right? Being contested by Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert was not, it was like a soft closeout. It was not like Rudy was trying to run him off the 3-point line. That's not what was happening. Now, yeah, Terrence Mann did dunk on him, which it was a good dunk. I mean, some of the best rim protectors, yeah, sometimes you get caught. I mean, Michael Jordan dunked on Dikembe, right? Some of the rim protectors you get dunked on sometimes. I mean, perimeter defenders they get blown by sometimes, they get crossed, anything could happen. But I mean, Gobert was being cooked by Luka, he was being cooked by Jokic, right? So I mean, Luka and Jokic are gonna go down as one of the best players of this generation. So in other words, they're gonna be considered all-time greats as well. But yeah, let me not get off track. Let me not get off track. But yeah, Luca didn't really have a great series against the Clippers, right? And just like Bruce said, defenders like Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey, and all those other guys, um, they really made life difficult for Luca, right? But even though I still believe that Luca was, that knee injury that he's dealing with, it was really bothering him in those first two series. And I'm not making excuses for him, but I just believe I believe that's what was happening. But later on, when he got adjusted to it, and he started to dominate, and we saw it in the Timberwolves series. He averaged 30, 33, 34. Nah, he either averaged 32 or 33 points, right? Shooting 43% from the three. And that was crazy because against the Clippers, he couldn't buy a three. Against the Thunder, he couldn't buy a three. Against the Clippers, let me see his percentage from the 3-point line. I know it was terrible. It was not Luka standards, but Luka Doncic against the Clippers. Now he did average 29 points, right? Like I said, 29.8. So I mean, if you round that up, that's 30. But from the 3-point line, he was shooting 23%. That's terrible. That is so terrible. And he did, considering that he shot 38% in the regular season, right? Now, Thomas, I know you be saying Luka's a trash 3-point shooter, which he made the second most threes in the season though. Yeah, he does take a lot of threes. If you take a lot of threes, you have to make a lot of threes, right? But yeah, that's that. And he shot 38%, which is 38% is fine. It's not super efficient, but it's okay. I think the league average is 30. Now the league, I forgot what the league average is, but he was definitely above league average, right? But in the Clipper series, he wasn't really dominating like that. Even though he put up 30, the efficiency is not really there, right? And against the Thunder, it was by design to let the role players beat them. And sometimes you could tell Luka's just trying to he's trying to force the issue, trying to get his points, and he'll take one dribble from half court, and he'll just let it go. But the defense of Terrence Mann definitely bothered him in the first round, right? And Lou Dort definitely had his moments against Luka in the second round, but they were able to advance past it. But when Luka got into the Western Conference Finals, that's when he started going off. That's when he was getting 30-point games. That's when he was being super efficient, creating mismatches, finding wide open shooters, facilitating at a high level. And Kyrie was also going off as well. So if you look at these year's playoffs, it's very hard to say that Luka is having a dominant postseason run. Now, Jokic last season, no question about it, right? No argument about it, because he was definitely going off. But Luka this year hasn't really done that. Now he started to do it in the conference finals. So me personally, in order for me to consider him the best player in the game, I think he has to, go into the finals and put up, some significant amount of numbers. I mean, going to the finals and average 49-9, and I'll call him the best player in the game. Nah, that's not fair, because I'm holding him to a higher standard. But I mean, if you have an argument for Luka, yeah, I definitely want to listen to it. But if you're trying to bring up playoffs, if you're trying to bring up regular season, that's fine. 34-9-9, led the league in scoring, first team All NBA, right? But if you get into the playoffs, we cannot skip the first and second round, because that was so terrible. So, in my opinion, in order for him to, be the best player in the league, or be considered the best player in the league, I think he has to, dominate in the finals. I don't want to see 23% from the three in the finals. I need to see a dominant postseason run, like 35. I mean, not 35, but, like a dominant run, I mean, we know he's going to get his numbers, definitely, right? And he's seen every type of defensive coverage, right? So we know what he's gonna do. I know what he's gonna do. I know he's gonna definitely get his, and try to facilitate at a high level, try to be uh, a good passer at a high level, right? We know he's gonna do all of that. Even though I mean, I still have Dallas winning the series, but I still have Jokic as the best player, and I'm only willing to listen to only two guys. If you're trying to make an argument for only two guys as being the best player in the league, and those two guys are Luka Doncic on the screen right here, and Giannis. Those are the only guys I'm trying to listen to. I'm not trying to hear LeBron James as being the best player in the league. I'm not trying to hear Kevin Durant being the best player in the league. And Steph Curry, nah, they're definitely top 10 players, right? Or I mean, you could definitely make a case for them being top 10 or top 15. But as the undisputed best player in the game, I just don't believe it, because I think there are other guys who have better cases of being the best player in the league. And that's how I see it. Now, I'm not disrespecting. I see somebody saying, "Oh, you're disrespecting LeBron, you're disrespecting Steph." I'm not I'm not doing that, right? But the three guys, like I said, Giannis, Jokic, Luka, they have a better case. They have a better argument, right? They have a better impact on their teams, right? Now, you could make a case that they have a better supporting cast than the other three players, right? Than the Currys, the KDs, and LeBrons. I mean, somebody could make an argument that Jokic, Luka, and Giannis have better supporting cast. But at the same time, we see these guys, facilitating, making life a lot more easier for these guys, right? We see Jokic playmaking at a high level, making passes that, sometimes I think to myself that, this is humanly impossible. But you see Jokic make a pass like that, trying to make his teammates better. But KD, Curry, and LeBron don't really make their teammates better as much as Giannis, Luka, and Jokic do. Giannis, Luka, and Jokic do. And yeah, if you watch the game, you can clearly tell. If you're looking at stats, you can clearly tell, right? The advanced analytics would definitely tell you as well. The box score will tell you. Eye test will tell you. Watching the games really helps, right? Because you see the passes that Luka makes. Sometimes how he manipulates the guy who's the last, excuse me, sometimes how he manipulates the guy who's the last line of defense or the low man, looking at him and, forcing him to make a decision whether he would go into the weak side corner to pick up the shooter over there or he'd rather stay in the paint. And we see Luka just manipulate defenses like that. And if you stay in the paint, he's going to definitely kick it out to the open shooter in the corner, right? And if you commit to that shooter, you'll see him, hit whoever set the screen on that short roll. And, we see Daniel Gaffrey getting dunks, right? We see Derek Jones Jr. getting dunks. We see Derek Lively coming off the bench and getting dunks. And shout out to Derek Lively. He's a rookie, and playing at the level that he's playing at, rookies are not supposed to be that good, especially in their rookie season. So shout out to him. Hopefully the Dallas Mavericks win the championship, and he can dedicate it to his mom, right? But yeah, that's what I think, man. I think Jokic is still the best player in the game. Um, he definitely outplayed Luka in the first and second rounds, definitely, right? It's unfortunate that he got eliminated, so we weren't able to see him, make a deep postseason run. But I still think he's the best player in the game because he dominated. His efficiency was good, right? In the first round, 67% true shooting percentage, right? And then in the second round, it was I think 59.8. But if you round it up, it's 60%. So that's elite. So he was doing his thing, right? He was doing his thing, and you could make an argument that both ends because he's averaging double digit rebounds against the Lakers. He averaged 16 rebounds. That's Will Chamberlain. That's Bill Russell. That's Moses Malone type rebounding numbers, right? So he was doing his thing, but yeah, I think he's the best player in the game, and Luka definitely has an argument. Giannis has an argument, but Giannis's argument is not as strong as Luka's argument. So if I'm ranking, Giannis is definitely going to be a third player on my list. People are going to disagree with me, but I don't think only regular season matters. Both definitely matter. So that's all I got. Um, I was gonna drop the link, but I don't think there's anybody else in here. So I'm gonna just get ready to shut it down. I appreciate each and every person that joined us live. Shout out to my guy Humble. Shout out to Bruce. Yeah, Bruce came in here. Man, Bruce is funny. Bruce is definitely funny. Gogurt. That's the funniest name I have I have heard. Gogurt. Man. Dikembe was getting destroyed by Shaq back in 2001, right? And I felt sorry for him because Shaq was dunking on him, throwing him to the floor, elbowing him in the jaw, and it was yeah, Shaq was so physical. Now, Jokic is a low budget Shaq. Now I'm not saying he's dominant as Shaq, but he's just as effective as Shaq, right? He's as effective as Shaq was. And you can tell you don't win three regular season MVPs by not being so effective for your team. And so if he's doing that to Gobert, it's fine. We see defenders get cooked all the time. So I saw Kawhi Leonard get cooked by what you call it, Russell Westbrook back in 2016, and he couldn't stay in front of him. So you know Marcus Smart was getting cooked. Jaren Jackson was getting cooked. Giannis was getting cooked back in 2020 in the bubble. He was getting cooked. Can't stay in front of nobody. And the next season he was getting cooked by KD in the Nets Bucks series. So defensive players get cooked sometimes. It happens. They're going up against elite offensive players. So sometimes, the offensive player is just gonna get the best of you. It happens. It is what it is. So, but yeah, I still believe Jokic is the best player in the league. Right. After the playoffs, I'm gonna definitely come out with my top 10 list, and I'm gonna definitely make a case and explain why I believe this player is in this position. And like I said, my criteria is availability, production, impact, and that's what I'm sticking with. I'm gonna end the show right here. Like again, I appreciate each and every person that joined. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.